The research ship New Horizon moved slowly through space toward the green planet below. Dr. Kim Yuna pressed her face against the small window and watched the world grow larger. Green covered most of the surface like a thick blanket. Rivers ran through the green like silver snakes. "It looks perfect," she said to her younger brother Han Wu, who stood beside her in his marine uniform. "Too perfect," Wu replied. "In my experience, perfect planets usually hide something dangerous." Yuna smiled at her brother's caution. He was only 22, but already a good soldier. She was proud of him for joining this mission with her. Not many brothers and sisters got to explore new worlds together. "The scans show no signs of intelligent life," said Li Mina from her seat at the communications panel. "Just lots of plants and animals." Park Jae, the security chief, checked his weapon for the third time that morning. "Animals can be just as dangerous as intelligent beings, sometimes more dangerous." The ship entered the planet's atmosphere with a gentle shake. Captain Cho Bin guided them down toward a flat area near one of the big rivers. The landing was smooth and quiet. "Welcome to Kepler 442c, Bin announced over the ship's speakers. "Temperature is 25 degrees. Air is breathable. Gravity is close to Earth normal." Yuna gathered her research equipment while the others prepared to leave the ship. The team included 12 people total. Besides her family and friends, there were 8 other scientists and Marines. Each person had an important job to do. The door opened with a soft hiss. Warm, humid air flowed into the ship. It smelled like flowers and earth and something else Yuna could not name. Something wild. They stepped onto the planet's surface for the first time. The ground was soft under their boots. Huge trees rose around them like green towers. Strange birds called from the branches above. "Set up the base camp here," Jay ordered. "Close to the ship but with good sight lines in all directions." The team worked quickly to build their temporary home. They put up tents, set up the communications equipment, and arranged the research tools. Songhai, the medic, prepared her medical station. Kim Tae and the other Marines established a perimeter. By evening, they had a proper camp. Solar panels powered their equipment. A force field generator created a safe zone around their tents. Everything seemed peaceful. "First day success," Yuna wrote in her research log. "Planet shows incredible biodiversity. Initial samples suggest ecosystem more complex than Earth's rainforests. No signs of dangerous predators in immediate area." The team gathered for dinner as the sun set. 2 of the planet's 3 moons appeared in the darkening sky. They cast strange shadows through the trees. "Tomorrow we start the real work," Yuna told the group. "We will split into teams and explore different areas. Remember, we are here to learn, not to disturb. Stay in radio contact at all times," Jay added. "This planet may look peaceful, but we do not know what lives here." After dinner, most of the team went to sleep. Yuna stayed awake to study her samples under the microscope. The plant life showed amazing complexity. Some plants seemed to communicate with each other through chemical signals. Wu sat with his sister as she worked. "Find anything interesting?" "Everything here is interesting," she replied. "These plants are more advanced than anything on Earth." They worked together like a giant organism. A sound came from the forest, something large moving through the trees. Wu picked up his rifle and listened carefully. "Probably just a big animal looking for water," he said after a moment. The sound came again, closer this time, then silence. "Maybe we should wake Jay," Yuna suggested. "No need. Whatever it is staying away from our lights." The second day brought more discoveries. Yuna's team found flowers that changed color when touched. Bin's group discovered trees that grew in perfect spirals. Mina recorded animal sounds unlike anything on Earth. But it was near the river that they found the most interesting thing. Huge tracks in the mud near the water's edge. Each track was as wide as a person was tall. They were not like any animal tracks the team knew. "What could make marks this big?" asked Hay. Yuna measured the tracks carefully. Something very large, very heavy. The spacing suggests it moves by sliding rather than walking. "Like a snake?" Wu asked. "Like a snake, but much bigger than any snake that ever lived." Jay studied the tracks with worry. How much bigger? Yuna did quick calculations in her head. Based on these tracks, I would estimate the creature is at least 100 meters long, maybe longer. The team stared at the enormous tracks in silence. Even on a planet full of strange life, this was beyond what they had expected. We need to be more careful, Jay decided. From now on, no one goes anywhere alone. We stick to teams of 4 or more. That evening, they set up motion sensors around their camp. The sensors would alert them if anything large approached during the night, but the sensors failed to detect what was already watching them. The creature had been observing the strange visitors since their ship first appeared in the sky. It was ancient and intelligent and completely alone. For longer than it could remember, it had been the only one of its kind on this world. The visitors made interesting sounds, not like the simple calls of the planet's other animals. These sounds were complex and seemed to carry meaning. The creature listened and learned. When one of the visitors made certain sounds, others would respond. When they made different sounds, the others would come closer or move away. The sounds had power over their behavior. The creature had never heard anything like this before. It decided to learn more. On the third night, as the team sat around their portable heater eating dinner, Mina noticed something strange. "The forest is too quiet," she said. Everyone stopped eating and listened. She was right. The constant sounds of insects and night animals had stopped completely. "Something is out there," Wu whispered, reaching for his weapon. That was when they saw the eyes. 2 enormous green lights reflected their camp's illumination from the edge of the forest. The eyes were the size of dinner plates, and they watched the humans with obvious intelligence. "Nobody move," Jay ordered quietly. The eyes moved closer. The team could hear something massive sliding through the undergrowth. Trees bent and broke as the creature approached. Then they saw it. The thing that emerged from the forest was beyond their worst fears. A serpent, longer than their ship, covered in scales that glowed with soft bioluminescent light. Its head was the size of a small vehicle filled with rows of teeth like curved swords. For a moment, creature and humans stared at each other across the clearing. Then everything went wrong at once. The massive creature struck faster than lightning. Its enormous head swept across the camp like a wrecking ball. Tables and equipment flew through the air. Mina screamed as the creature's jaws closed around her. The sound cut off suddenly. "Run!" Park Jae shouted, firing his weapon at the beast. The energy blast hit the creature's scales and bounced off like raindrops. The scales glowed brighter where the shot struck, as if the creature was absorbing the energy. Dr. Kim Yuna grabbed her research pack and ran toward the forest. Behind her, she heard more screams. The creature's tail whipped through the camp, destroying everything they had built. "Woo!" she called for her brother. "Here!" His voice came from somewhere in the darkness. She ran toward the sound, but something moved between them. The creature's massive body blocked her path. Its scales cast weird shadows in the firelight from their burning camp. "Woo! Where are you?" she screamed. She heard him call back, but his voice was getting farther away. Then she heard something that made her blood freeze. Her brother screaming her name in terror. "Yuna, help me! Yuna!" The screaming stopped. Yuna fell to her knees in the mud. "Woo," she whispered, then louder. "Woo, woo." The creature's enormous head turned toward her. Its green eyes focused on her face. For a moment, it just watched her. Its head tilted slightly, like it was listening to something interesting. Then other voices called from the forest. "Over here! This way! Help!" The creature's attention shifted. It slid away into the darkness, following the sounds. Yuna forced herself to move. She stumbled through the forest, branches tearing at her clothes. Behind her, she could hear the creature hunting the others. More screams echoed through the trees. She found Engineer Chobin hiding behind a fallen log. His face was white with fear. "Did you see what happened to the others?" she asked. "It got Kim Tae and 2 of the Marines," he whispered. "Just grabbed them and—" He could not finish. They heard voices calling in the distance. Songhai shouting for help. Another Marine, yelling orders. The sounds grew fewer as the night went on. By morning, only 4 people were left alive. Dr. Yuna, Cho Bin, medic Songhai, and Marine Kim Tae had found each other near a small stream. They looked like survivors of a war. "We need to get to the shuttle," Tae said. "It is our only way off this planet." "The creature will be watching the shuttle," Hay pointed out. "It is smart. Smarter than any animal should be." Yuna thought about the way the creature had looked at her when she called her brother's name. There had been something in those eyes. Not just hunger. Curiosity. "I think it is learning from us," she said. The others stared at her. "What do you mean?" Ben asked. "When I called Wu's name, it stopped and watched me, like it was trying to understand what the sound meant." "You think it understands human speech?" Tae asked. "Maybe not the words, but something about the way we use sounds, the way we call to each other." They started moving toward the shuttle, staying hidden in the thick forest. But the creature found them anyway. It appeared without warning, sliding between the trees like a river of death. This time, Yuna got a better look at it. The creature was even larger than she had first thought, at least 200 meters long. Its scales were not just glowing, they were changing color, shifting in patterns. "It is beautiful," Hay whispered. The creature heard her voice and turned. Its massive head lowered until it was just meters away from the group. They could feel its breath, warm and smelling of flowers. "Do not move," Tae said quietly. But Song-hae was not listening. She was staring at the creature with wonder instead of fear. "Hello," she said softly. "Can you understand me?" The creature's eyes focused on her, its head tilted again, that same listening pose Yuna had seen before. "My name is Song-hae," she continued. "What is your name?" The creature made a sound. Not a hiss or a roar. Something almost like speech, but in no language they knew. "I think it is trying to talk," Hai said with excitement. That was when Kim Tae made his mistake. Thinking the creature was distracted, he raised his weapon and fired. The Tia energy blast hit the creature in the eye. It reared back with a sound of pure rage and pain. Its injured eye wept glowing fluid. The creature's tail swept around and caught Tae before he could fire again. Yuna heard his bones break. Then the creature's jaws opened, and Tae was gone. Cho Bin tried to run. The creature caught him easily, its massive coils wrapping around the engineer like rope around a post. "Bin!" Hay screamed. "Bin!" Again, the creature paused when it heard the name called out. It looked at Hay with its one good eye. Then at Bin, trapped in its coils. Slowly, carefully, it released the engineer. Bin fell to the ground, gasping but alive. "It understands," Yuna breathed. "It knows that names are important to us." The creature studied them for a long moment. Then it slid away into the forest, leaving them shaken but alive. "Why did it let us go?" Bin asked. Yuna thought she knew. The creature was not just hunting them. It was studying them, learning about these strange beings who made complex sounds and seemed to care deeply about each other. "We need to find shelter," she said, "and we need to think. This creature is not just a predator. It is something much more dangerous." "What is more dangerous than a 200-meter-long killing machine?" Hai asked. "A 200-meter-long killing machine that is trying to understand us." They found a cave system in the rocky hills. The passages were too narrow for the creature to follow. They set up camp deep inside, using their remaining supplies to create a small base. But even in the caves, they could hear it outside. Sliding across the rocks, waiting. And sometimes late at night they heard it making sounds. Strange, almost musical sounds that reminded Yuna of human speech. The creature was practicing, learning to make sounds like theirs. On their third day in the Ser cave, Song-hae made a terrible discovery. "I found something," she called from a side passage. The others followed her deeper into the cave. Her flashlight beam revealed something that made them all step back in horror. Bones. Human bones arranged in careful patterns on the cave floor. But these bones were old, much older than their mission. "There were other humans here," Hay whispered. "Before us." Yuna knelt beside the bone patterns. They were not scattered randomly. They had been placed with care, almost like art. The creature has been studying humans for a long time, she realized. We are not the first. That night, as they huddled in their cave, they heard new sounds from outside. The creature was making noise again. But this time, the sounds were clearer, more structured. It was learning their language, and it was getting better. The hunt was far from over. In fact, Yuna realized with growing dread it might just be beginning. The cave felt smaller each day. Dr. Kim Yuna, Engineer Chobin, and Medic Song Hai had been trapped for 5 days. Their food was running low, their water was almost gone, but worse than hunger was the sound outside. The creature had not left. It stayed near the cave entrance, making those strange musical sounds. The sounds were getting more human-like each day. It is learning our language, Yuna said as she checked their remaining supplies. That is impossible, Bin replied. Animals cannot learn human speech. This is not just an animal, Yuna reminded him. Look at those bone patterns we found. That creature has been studying humans for years. Maybe decades. Songhai sat near the cave entrance, listening to the sounds outside. It is trying to copy the way we talk to each other, the way we use names. Yuna had been thinking about this for days. Every time someone had called out a name during the attack, the creature had stopped and listened. When Hai had said Bin's name, it had actually released him. I have a theory, she said. What if this creature is not naturally aggressive? What if it kills because it is trying to understand us? The others stared at her. You think it killed 8 people by accident? Bin asked. Not by accident. But maybe not out of pure malice either. Think about it. How would you study a completely alien species? How would you learn about their behavior and communication? I would not kill them, Hay said firmly. But what, if you were a predator by nature? What if killing was the only way you knew how to interact with other living things? The conversation was interrupted by a new sound from outside, not the musical practicing they had grown used to. This was different, slower, more deliberate. Yuna. All 3 humans froze. The voice was distorted, alien, but unmistakably trying to say her name. Yuna, the creature called again. Her hands shook. The thing that had killed her brother was calling her name. Do not answer, Bin whispered. But Yuna was already moving toward the cave entrance. It knows my name. It remembers. Yuna, do not. Hay grabbed her arm. If I am right, if it is trying to communicate, then this might be our only chance. She walked to the narrow opening where daylight filtered in. The creature's massive eye was visible outside, watching the cave entrance. I am Yuna, she said clearly. The eye blinked. The creature made that tilting motion with its head. Yuna, it repeated. Better this time, more human. Yes, I am Yuna. You killed my brother. His name was Wu. Wu, the creature said. The sound was sad, almost mournful. Yuna felt tears on her cheeks. Hearing her brother's name spoken by his killer was almost too much to bear. Why? She asked. Why did you kill them? The creature was quiet for a long time. Then it made a series of sounds, complex musical sounds that seemed to carry meaning even though she could not understand them. It is trying to explain, Hai said from behind her. Explain what? How to kill humans more efficiently. But as Yuna listened, she began to hear patterns in the creature's sounds. Repetition, structure. It was not just making noise. It was speaking in its own language. Lonely, the creature said suddenly in broken human speech. Long time. Alone. The words hit Yuna like a physical blow. This creature had been alone. For how long? Years? Centuries? You were alone, she said. So when you found us, you wanted to understand us. Understand? The creature agreed. But wrong. Sorry. The word sorry came out as a long, mournful sound. There was real pain in it. Real regret. It is apologizing. Hay whispered in amazement. Too late for apologies, Bin said bitterly. It killed our friends. But Yuna was beginning to see the bigger picture. A creature of immense intelligence and power, trapped alone on a world with no others of its kind. When it finally encountered beings who could communicate, who had complex social bonds, it had tried to study them the only way it knew how. "You did not know," she said to the creature. "You did not know that killing us would hurt the others." "Not know," the creature agreed. "Learn now. Too late." Over the next few hours, a strange conversation developed. The creature's human speech improved rapidly. It had been listening to them for days, learning their language structure. It told them about its world, how its kind had died out long ago, how it had been alone for more time than it could remember, how it had tried to preserve the memory of its people by arranging their bones in patterns, but the patterns had no meaning without others to share them. "When you came," the creature said, "heard new sounds, sounds with meaning. Wanted to learn, wanted to understand sounds that mean caring." "Names," Yuna said. "The sounds that mean caring are names." "Names," the creature repeated slowly. "Sounds that connect, sounds that make not alone." As the day wore on, Yuna found herself actually feeling sympathy for this creature. It had committed terrible acts, but from ignorance rather than evil. It was like a child who breaks something precious while trying to understand how it works. But the peace was shattered when Songhai tried to leave the cave to refill their water containers. The creature moved to follow her, curious about her actions. But Hei panicked when she saw the massive form approaching. She screamed and ran back toward the cave. In her fear, she stumbled and fell hard against the rocky wall. Blood flowed from a deep cut on her head. "Help me," she called weakly. "Please help me." The creature approached slowly, its massive head lowering to examine her injury. Hei was too weak to move away. Chobin could not stand it any longer. He had been listening to this conversation between Yuna and their tormentor, growing more angry by the minute. This thing had killed their friends, destroyed their mission, and now it was threatening Hei. He grabbed the emergency flare gun from their supplies and fired it at the creature's face. The flare struck the creature's injured eye, the same eye that Kim-tae had shot days earlier. The creature reared back in agony, its pained roar echoing through the canyon. In its pain and fury, the creature's careful control broke. Its tail lashed out, striking Bin and sending him flying against the cave wall. The sound of breaking bones was sickeningly clear. When its pain faded, the creature looked down at what it had done. Bin lay motionless. Hei was bleeding and unconscious. Only Yuna remained, staring up at it with tears in her eyes. "I'm sorry," the creature said in its broken human speech. "Pain made me forget, made me like before." Yuna knelt beside her fallen friends. Bin was dead. Hei was dying, blood pooling beneath her head. "Please," Hei whispered with her last breath. "Tell my daughter I love her. Tell Miji that Mommy loves her." She spoke her daughter's name over and over until the words faded to silence. The creature listened to every repetition, its great eye fixed on Hei's face as she died speaking her child's name. When it was over, Yuna was alone with the creature that had killed everyone she cared about. She should have been terrified. She should have been filled with rage. Instead, she felt empty, hollow. There was nothing left inside her but sadness. "Now you understand," she said to the creature. "Names are not just sounds, they are love. They are memory. They are the bonds that make us human." "Understand," the creature said softly. But understanding comes too late. They sat in silence. As the sun set, the killer and the last victim both mourning in their own way, both finally understanding each other when it no longer mattered. But understanding, Yuna realized, might be enough. It might have to be enough, because now she had a choice to make. She could hate this creature for what it had done, or she could try to help it become something better. The decision she made would determine not just her own fate, but the fate of the last member of an ancient species that had never learned how to love until it was too late. Dr. Kim Yuna sat alone in the cave with 2 dead bodies and a creature that had killed everyone she loved. The smart thing would be to run. The safe thing would be to hide until rescue came, if rescue ever came. Instead, she made a decision that went against every survival instinct she had. She walked out of the cave. The creature was lying a few meters away, its massive head resting on the ground. Its injured eye wept, glowing tears that pooled in the rocky soil. "You are hurt," Una said. The creature's good eye focused on her. "Why you come out, why not afraid?" Its human speech was getting better every hour. The words came easier now, though still with that strange musical quality. "I am afraid," she admitted. "But fear will not bring back the people you killed. And you are injured." She opened her medical pack and pulled out antiseptic and bandages. The creature watched her with confusion. "What you do?" "I am going to help you," she said simply. "Help." The concept seemed to puzzle the creature. "But I hurt your people. I hurt you." "Yes, you did. But you are also hurt, and you are alone. And you are sorry." She approached the creature's injured eye. Up close, she could see the damage was serious. The flare had burned the delicate tissue around the eye socket. "This will sting," she warned. The creature held perfectly still as she cleaned the wound. It was like treating an injured mountain. She had to climb onto its head to reach the damaged areas properly. "Why you help?" the creature asked as she worked. Una thought about the question. Why was she helping the thing that had killed her brother? The thing that had destroyed her life? "Because you did not understand what you were doing," she said finally. "And because understanding has to start somewhere." As she bandaged the creature's eye, she began to talk. She told it about her brother Wu, how he had joined the mission to protect her, how he had always been brave even as a child, how he used to make her laugh when she was sad. The creature listened to every word. "He sounds like good person," it said when she finished. He was. They all were. "I wish I had understood before. Wish I had not hurt them. But you understand now. That has to count for something." Over the following days, an impossible relationship began to develop. The creature, which Una learned to think of as simply friend, since it had no name of its own, brought her food and water from the forest. In return, she continued to treat its injuries and talked to it for hours each day. Friend was incredibly intelligent. It learned human language faster than any computer program. More importantly, it began to understand human emotions and relationships. "Your people make bonds," Friend observed one day. "Bonds that make them strong but also make them hurt when bonds are broken." "Yes," Una agreed. "We call it love." "Love." Friend repeated the word carefully. "I had no word for this before. My people were different. We were alone always. No bonds, no names, no love." "That must have been lonely." "I did not know it was lonely until I heard your people call to each other. Until I heard the pain in voices, when bonds were broken." Friend began to show Una things it had never shown anyone before. Deep in the forest, there were structures made of stone and bone. Arrangements that were almost like art but simpler, more primitive. "My people made these," Friend explained. "Long time ago, before the sickness came." "Sickness?" "Something in the air, in the water. My people died one by one. I was youngest. I lived, but alone." Una studied the bone structures. They were attempts at communication, she realized. A species trying to leave messages for others who would never come. "How long have you been alone?" "Many of your lifetimes. Maybe 20. Maybe more." The thought of such loneliness was almost unbearable. No wonder Friend had been so desperate to understand the humans. They represented everything it had never had: connection, communication, love. "You preserved their memory," Una said, touching one of the bone arrangements. "Even without names, you remembered them." "Tried to remember, but memory fades when there is no one to share it with." That night, as they sat by a small fire Una had built, Friend asked her a question that changed everything. Will you teach me about names? What do you want to know? How do names work? How do they make bonds between people? Yuna thought carefully about how to explain something so basic to her, but completely foreign to Friend. Names are how we identify ourselves to others. But they are more than that. When someone knows your name, they can call to you, they can think about you when you are not there. Names make us real to other people. I have no name, Friend said sadly. Your people never use names? No. We were always alone. No need for names when there is no one to call them. The conversation continued late into the night. Friend was fascinated by the concept of identity, of being known by others. It asked hundreds of questions about human naming customs, about families, about how names connected people across time and distance. When Songhai spoke her daughter's name, Friend said, she was making connection across great distance? Yes, even though her daughter was on another world, speaking her name made the connection real. And when you called for your brother Wu, you were trying to maintain bond even when he was taken, yes. The memory still hurt, but Yuna could talk about it now without crying. Names are powerful, Friend observed. More powerful than I understood. As weeks passed, Yuna began to accept that she might never leave this planet. Her ship was destroyed. No rescue mission would come for months, if at all, but strangely, she found herself not minding as much as she should have. Friend was good company. Despite everything that had happened, despite the deaths it had caused, she found herself caring about this ancient, lonely creature. It was like teaching a child about the world if that child happened to be a 200-meter-long apex predator. You are different from others of your kind, Friend observed one day. How so? Others feared me, attacked me. You helped me, teach me. Why? Yuna had wondered about this herself. Why was she not consumed with hatred for her family's killer? Why did she feel compassion for this creature? Maybe because I understand what it feels like to be alone, she said finally. I lost everyone I cared about. In a way, we are both the last of our kind now. You make bond with me even though I hurt you? You did not understand what you were doing, and you are trying to be better now. That matters. Friend was quiet for a long time. When it spoke again, its voice was different, softer, more uncertain than she had ever heard it. Yuna, it said, carefully. I want to ask you something. Something important. What is it? Friend struggled with the words. I want to have name. I want to be real to someone the way your brother was real to you. The request hit Yuna like a physical blow. This creature wanted her to give it a name, to make it real in the way that humans were real to each other. It was asking her to forgive it completely, to accept it not just as a reformed killer but as a friend, as family. That is a big thing to ask, she said quietly. I know, but you are only one who understands me, only one who knows what names mean. If you give me name, I will carry it with honor. I will try to be worthy of it. Yuna stared into Friend's huge eye. She saw intelligence there, sadness, hope, and something that might have been love if a creature like this could feel love. I need time to think about it, she said. I understand. I will wait. But Yuna knew she had already made her decision. The question was not whether to give Friend a name. The question was what name to give, and she already knew the answer to that too. 3 months had passed since the attack. Dr. Kim Yuna had grown thin from the planet's simple diet, but she had also grown strong in ways she never expected. She knew every part of the forest now. She could identify the safe plants and avoid the dangerous ones. She had learned to read the weather patterns and predict the storms. Most importantly, she had learned to understand Friend. The creature had changed during their time together. It was gentler now, more careful with its enormous strength. It had learned to speak human language fluently, though it still preferred the musical tones of its own extinct tongue. And it had learned about human emotions in ways that surprised them both. You are sad today, Friend observed as Yuna sat by their usual resting spot near the river. Today would have been Wu's birthday, she explained. He would have been 23. Friend lowered its massive head until it was level with hers. Tell me about his birthdays when he was small. So Yuna told stories about her brother's childhood. Birthdays. The cake that fell on the floor when he was 7. The surprise party that he figured out ahead of time when he was 12. The last birthday they had celebrated together before leaving Earth. Friend listened to every detail. It had an amazing memory for human stories, especially ones about family bonds and emotional connections. Your brother sounds like he brought joy to many people, Friend said when she finished. He did. He was the kind of person who made everyone around him happier. I wish I could have met him properly, without violence. I think I would have liked him. I think he would have liked you too, Yuna said, and realized she meant it. Once he got over the shock of meeting a talking giant snake. Friend made the sound that had become its version of laughter. It was a deep musical rumble that shook the ground. Their conversation was interrupted by a sound neither of them had heard in months, the whine of engines in the sky. A rescue ship was approaching the planet. Yuna jumped to her feet, her heart racing. After all this time, rescue had finally come. She could leave this world. She could go home. She could return to civilization and try to rebuild her life. But as the ship landed in a clearing near the river, she found herself looking back at Friend with unexpected sadness. They have come for you, Friend said quietly. Yes. You will leave now. I suppose I will. Neither of them moved. The ship's engines powered down, and Yuna could hear voices calling her name. The rescue team had found traces of their original camp and were searching for survivors. They will want to know what happened here, Friend said. They will want to know about me. What should I tell them? The truth, that I killed your people, that I am dangerous. That is not the whole truth. It is the only truth that matters to them. The voices were getting closer. Soon the rescue team would find them. They would see Friend and probably attack, it just as Yuna's original team had done. I have decision to make, Yuna said suddenly. What decision? Whether to go with them or stay here. Friend's great eye widened in surprise. You would stay? You would give up your own kind to remain with me? My own kind are gone. The people I cared about are dead. And you asked me for something important. You asked me for a name. You said you needed time to think. I have had time. I know what name I want to give you. The voices were very close now. In minutes, the rescue team would emerge from the trees, and everything would change forever. What name? Friend asked urgently. Yuna took a deep breath. This was the hardest decision she had ever made, but also the most important. Wu, she said firmly. I want to name you Wu. Friend went perfectly still. Your brother's name? Yes. But he was precious to you. He was love and memory and bonds. How can you give his name to the one who killed him? Because names are not just about the past, Yuna explained. They are about the future too. When I give you my brother's name, I am not replacing him. I am giving you the chance to honor his memory, to be the kind of person he was. But I am not human. I am not good like he was. You can be good. You have learned about love and compassion and regret. You have learned to care about others. That makes you more human than many humans I have known. The sound of breaking branches announced the rescue team's arrival. They would appear at any moment. If I take his name, Friend said quickly, what does that make me to you? It makes you family. And if they try to hurt me, then I will protect you, just like Wu would have protected me. 3 soldiers in environmental suits emerged from the forest, weapons raised. Behind them came a scientist with a medical scanner. Dr. Kim, the scientist called. Are you all right? Are you injured? I am fine, Yuna replied, stepping between the soldiers and Friend. Step away from that creature, the lead soldier ordered. We are here to extract you. This creature is not a threat, Yuna said calmly. Ma'am, Our briefing said this thing killed your entire team. Please move so we can neutralize it. You will not harm him, Yuna said firmly. His name is Wu and he is under my protection. The soldiers looked confused. The scientist lowered his scanner. Dr. Kim, you may be suffering from some form of psychological trauma. That creature is extremely dangerous. Friend had remained perfectly still during this exchange, but now it spoke in its careful human words. I did kill her people, it said. I am dangerous, but I am also learning to be better. The soldiers jumped at the sound of its voice. One of them fired a warning shot into the air. It talks, the scientist breathed in amazement. He talks, Yuna. Corrected. He learns, he feels regret for what he did, and he is trying to become worthy of the name I gave him. Over the next hour, an impossible negotiation took place. The rescue team wanted to take Yuna and leave immediately. They wanted to report the location of the dangerous creature so it could be studied or eliminated. Yuna refused to leave without guarantees for Wu's safety. She told them everything that had happened, everything she had learned about this ancient, lonely being who had killed out of ignorance and now lived with the weight of that knowledge. You are asking us to treat a killer like a person, the lead soldier said. I am asking you to treat a person like a person, Yuna replied. He made terrible mistakes, but he has learned from them. He has grown. He has changed. In the end, a compromise was reached. Yuna would return to Earth to make her report. She would tell the authorities about Wu, but she would also tell them about his intelligence, his capacity for learning, his regret for past actions. A decision about his future would be made by people far above the rescue team's authority level. As the ship prepared to depart, Yuna had a few final moments alone with Wu. I do not know if I will be allowed to come back, she admitted. I understand. You have your own life to live. But I will try, and I will make sure they understand what you really are. What am I? Wu asked. You are someone who learned that love is more powerful than loneliness. Someone who chose to change when change was possible. Someone worthy of carrying my brother's name. I will try to honor that name, Wu promised. I will remember all the stories you told me about him. I will try to bring joy to others the way he did. I know you will. As the ship lifted off, Yuna watched through the window as Wu grew smaller below them, but she knew she would see him again. Somehow, she would find a way. Years later, when the first diplomatic mission returned to Kepler 4482c, they found something unprecedented. Wu had become the guardian of a growing memorial in the forest. Bone arrangements that told the stories of every human who had died on his world, arranged with such care and artistry that they brought tears to the eyes of those who saw them. But, more than that, Wu had learned to create beautiful patterns of stone and metal that sang in the wind. Gardens of native plants arranged in ways that honored both human and alien aesthetics. Art that bridged the gap between species. When asked about it, Wu would say, My name means one who brought joy to others. I am trying to learn how to do that. And he was learning. The diplomatic team found evidence that Wu had been caring for the planet's ecosystem in ways that went far beyond mere survival. He had been protecting endangered species, maintaining the balance of the forest, and even helping lost animals find their way home. But most importantly, he had been preserving memories. Deep in his territory, the diplomats found a special place. A garden where every plant had been chosen to represent someone who had died on his world. Each arrangement told a story. Li Mina's memorial was made of flowering vines that bloomed in communication patterns, representing her work as a communications officer. Park Jae's memorial was a circle of strong trees that protected smaller plants within, just as he had tried to protect his team. And at the center of it all was Wu's memorial to his namesake. A simple arrangement of stones that caught and reflected light in patterns that looked almost like laughter. He would have been 28 today, Wu told the diplomatic team when they asked about it. Yuna told me he always made people smile, so I made something that smiles at the sky. Dr. Kim Yuna, now in her 50s, was part of that diplomatic mission. When she saw what Wu had built, she cried for the first time in years. You did honor his name, she told him. I am still learning, Wu replied. But I think I understand now what it means to love someone, to carry their memory forward, to try to be worthy of the gift they gave you. What gift is that? Identity, connection, the knowledge that someone cares enough to remember you. As the diplomatic mission prepared to establish permanent contact between Earth and Kepler 442c, Yuna made one final request. I want to stay, she told the mission commander. This is where I belong now. Are you sure? You have family on Earth, a life to return to. My family is here, she said, looking at Wu. My life is here too. So Dr. Kim Yuna became the first human ambassador to a species of one. She spent her remaining years teaching Wu about human culture, while he taught her about the deep patience and wisdom that came from true solitude. Together, they created something new, a bridge between species built not on treaties or trade agreements, but on the simple understanding that every thinking being deserves a name, deserves to be remembered, deserves the chance to change and grow. When Yuna died peacefully in her sleep at the age of 72, Wu created the most beautiful memorial the galaxy had ever seen, a garden that told the story of a woman who chose compassion over revenge, understanding over hatred, love over fear. And in the center of that garden he placed a simple stone marker with two names carved deep into the rock. Kim Yuna, beloved sister, Han Wu, beloved brother. Because in the end, Wu had learned the most important lesson of all. Names are not just sounds we make to identify each other. They are promises. Promises to remember, to care, to carry forward the best parts of those we love. And sometimes, if we are very lucky, those names become bridges that connect us across the vast loneliness of space, reminding us that no one has to be alone forever. The story of Wu and Yuna became legend throughout human space. A reminder that even in the darkest moments, even when everything seems lost, there is always the possibility of understanding. Always the chance for redemption. Always the hope that love can grow in the most unlikely places. And on a green world orbiting a distant star, that hope continues to bloom in gardens tended by the last member of an ancient race who learned, finally and forever, what it means to have a name.